Hey everyone. Oh, Joshua. Yes. Hi to you as well. How are we all doing? Screen is not there. Well, hold on. Let's see now. I will screen share and then I'll pause. I think when you log in, you're supposed to initially see it. All right. So hopefully you guys have been following all the good tournaments that are happening. Hopefully you're following the Masters. Yeah. Are you watching the games? Anish Giri. Yes. Alan. He does. He does. Okay. So today, I was thinking of doing some Endgames. Probably World Youth, but non-tournaments more important. Okay. No, I was talking about, Magnus and Anish Giri and the top Pragnananda and the top players there. Yes, Magnus did have, of course, a tough tournament, but he almost came back. He had some amazing second half of the tournament. And if somebody can come back, it's him, yeah? All right, so I was thinking we will do a little bit of king and pawn in games. You guys think you know your king and pawn in games? What do you guys think? Man, you hope? Okay, so I thought to start, let's find out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a small evaluation. So this evaluation is basically, I will set up a position on the board and you don't have actual time to calculate, but you just have enough time to recognize. So which means I would say I'll give you 20 seconds. So in 20 seconds, you will need to write down a move and a result of the position. These are very basic. When I say very basic, not like super basic where you take opposition, queen the pawn, but still reasonably basic. I think all of you in this class should kind of know it. Yeah. Okay. So I am going to keep the chat for now on just this. Where is it? Why is it not letting me reset the chat? Okay, I don't have it yet. Kostya, when you get a chance, maybe you can make the chat just to host. I know they have lots of interesting conversations. We'll give them towards the end to talk about it. For some reason, I'm not able to do it. Oh, I got it. Sorry, guys. Disable the chat for now. You can chat with me. Yeah. Give me all the information that you need. All right. So like I said, the rules are very simple. I will set up a position and you will have 20 seconds and I will just have a timer on my phone. And at the end of 20 seconds, you do need to write down a move and a result. One move and a result. The result is 1-0-0-1 or a draw, right? And you will be self-grading this. So I'll give you like 5 positions. And this is simply to see where we stand, right? I know all these positions can be calculated. That's irrelevant. The question is, do we just know these positions, right? Not calculated. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. How many of you think you can get everything right? Not too complicated, simple Endgames. Is there anyone who thinks that they know king and pawn game enough to get? I don't know if Alan, if I gave it to you already, you might have seen some of this. So there's a chance you will get your full score. Yeah, Alan is like, I'm ready for this. I might throw in some changes then, Alan. Yeah, I might need to change some things. Okay, we'll figure it out as we go. All right, are we all ready? Yes? Okay, all right. Again, the key is that you have to write something in the chat. If you don't write it, I'm going to consider that as a loss in time. Okay, so imagine, actually, I'll give you the 30 seconds. I did the 30 seconds last time because in a FIDE time control, you're going to get a 30-second increment. So why don't we use a 30-second as that thing? So if you're playing one of these tournaments, you'll have 30 seconds to figure out a move sometimes, and that's all you have, right? Well, the screen is paused for a second right now. Let me redo it. Okay, I am starting the first position right now, and let's go. 30 seconds. I need a move and a result. That's all I need. I don't need variations. Just a move and a result. It's not even instinct. It's white to play. It is white to play. And you have 5 more seconds. If you didn't write it, you're going to lose on time. And time. Okay, I'm switching the same position, black to play. Let's go. Move and a result. I'll send the link later, Aryan. For now, just screen share is good enough. Move and a result. I see some of you are just typing the result. Some of you are typing just the move. I need both. 10 more seconds remaining. And next, white to play. Okay, I got another 10 seconds remaining. And go. White to play. All right, I got 5 seconds remaining. And next, white to play. Not bad, all of you. You're giving me some very good moves. 5 seconds remaining. And last one, white to play. All right, I have 5 more seconds remaining, and I am going to go back to the first position, and our time is up. No more answers. Now, first question. Raise your hand if you think you got 100% right. Everyone in this class, I would expect you to actually kind of get 100% right. Pretty much. Because all these end games are not too challenging in the sense that they are, I mean, they're not like super, super easy, but at the same time, they are something that you are supposed to know. You can raise your hand in Zoom. So I see a few of you have raised your hand. Now we're going to self-grade this, okay? But I do have your chat to go back and check. So I expect full honesty. Of course, you should know this. Alan, I have a feeling definitely is going to have it because I think he already took this test and I didn't change the position. So let's start with the first one. Who? Put your hands down. Put your hands down. So once we get past this, of course, we have. I'll show you some practical end games as well. Okay, who thinks that they got this like 100%? You know. Okay, I'm going to go to Eric. All right, Eric, you can unmute and tell me what you have.
So I think it's king of 6.
Wait, I thought you know this. Now you're telling me you think.
I know it's king of 6.
Okay. How do you win?
if like king b5, then king e7, and king c5, then king e6, and you win the pawn.
Okay, so Eric, what's the answer when I reverse it then? Black to play.
It should be a draw
Why?
because
I
black
reversed.
can, I
Yeah.
think black can still win the pawn, but white the pawn is, well, white will have the opposition, so like king b5, king f5, king c4, king e4, king c5, king e3, king d5, king d3.
So very nice, Eric. I think we got this. Now, some of you, I clearly see from black side, messed it up. From white side, pretty much all of you got this right. Well, I think the explanation that Eric gave is 100% right. All you have to think about is whose turn is they're going to win the pawn. No questions. But if it's white, white will also win the game because the pawn is advanced enough. But if I flip the board and make it black to play, it's actually a draw. A lot of people got this wrong. Okay, so you have to be a little careful about this. But okay, most of you did get it right. You cannot do all of this, Aryan. I will give you one chance. But wait, everyone needs to get a chance, yeah? I'll give you one of these positions. I will definitely call on you. Don't worry. Okay, let's go to the next one. Oh, well, actually, before I go to the next one, I'll just quickly show this to you. Of course, I don't need to spend too much time on this. The idea is you get something like this. You take the pawn, black takes the opposition, but the pawn is on the 5th rank, so it's always a win, right? The king will, I don't have any link for this, Evan. I'm just screen sharing. I will give the link at some point when I'm asking some questions there. So when the king moves out, I push the pawn and I win the game. Pretty straightforward king and pawn in game situation. And when we make this black to play, the same thing does not work because when I go here and I do win the pawn, the opposition is good enough to make it draw, right? So that is the first one. So hopefully we have 2 correct answers so far with a lot of you. Okay, let's move to the next one. Interestingly, I got a lot of mistakes in this one. Is king f7 also right? Yeah, king f7 or king f6 doesn't matter in the first position, guys. Both of them I will consider to be equally good. Okay, Aryan, you want to answer this? Let's go to Aryan. Aryan, what is this?
This one is king c4.
And wait, did you not give me king e4?
That was a typo.
Hey, you can't give me king c4 and e4 as a typo. Okay, what is the result?
White wins
Why?
because
Why
king
can't I go
d8.
king e4?
What?
Why can't I go
King
king e4?
d8. King d8.
So if I go king e4, you're saying black will play king d8.
Yes.
What will black play if you play king c4?
Same thing.
Then how is white winning?
King b5.
King b5, okay. Keep going.
King d7.
Okay.
And I changed my mind.
Well, you were so confident that you got everything right. Right? Okay. So this, I don't want you to feel too bad because I will give you an example of some unfortunate incidents that happen in some tournaments. But again, we'll go over the set of positions and we'll get to that. White can play king e4 or king c4. Obviously, both very reasonable moves, but black has king d8. That's what you have to remember. This is simply a draw. I see a lot of you said king e4 as a win. Now, I do want to share something. I don't know if I can do it. Let's see if I can fit it into this window. Let's see if I am able to do that. Somewhere here, I should have this game. Oh, there it is. Okay, I'm just trying to fit this into this window, guys. Give me a second. There it is. Okay. This is a game. As you can see, white It's a 2184 against a 2200, completely crushing, has an exchange and an extra pawn. Yeah. See the move that white played here? Rook takes f8. Thinking the king and pawn in game is winning. You can all see the board, right? Yeah. So, yep. And rook takes f8, king takes f8. Only like sadly, white realizes that this is a draw. Of course, when you see some of these mistakes, it looks so obvious and we keep thinking, oh my God, how could someone do this, right? But when you're playing a game, sometimes things come into your head and you're thinking, oh, wait, I found a very direct, easy king and pawn game win with opposition or something like that. Or maybe white was really, really low on time and tried to make some decision and it kind of backfired. But you can see mistakes like this all the time. And you will see, the reason is because by the time you're reaching king and pawn in game, one is fatigue. You've already played for 4 or 5 hours and maybe 6 hours, who knows, right? And this game you can see 74 moves, yeah? And the other thing is, of course, you don't have a lot of time to make these decisions. So that's the reason. This is not an instinct test. This is a test, or this is kind of something for me to see how much you actually know. It's not what you can calculate. Of course, if I give you this position, every single one of you will figure out that king d8 exists at some point, yeah? It might take you 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 50 seconds, but you're all going to figure it out. But the point is, you need to know, right? You cannot figure it out. You need to know. All right. So how many of you are still at a perfect score? How many? Samuel, I think, oh, you put your hand down, yeah? Wait, I don't see any hand up, I'm sure. The answer is nothing. King e4 draw. That's all. Or king c4 draw. It doesn't matter. As long as you wrote king e4 or king c4 and you said it's a draw, then you got this right. Ari, you can use the Zoom play. Somewhere in there, you should be able to do it. But it's okay. I can see that you got both right then, yeah? All right. Okay, perfect. I see Charles and Ari. A few more. All right, let's go to the next one. Let's see if we can keep this up. The next one is this one, of course. Rochelle is saying, okay, let's see. Madison wants to say, give this answer. Let's see. Go on, Madison.
So I thought about c6, check. So once black would go, sorry. So c6, and then I thought white would win. So after c6, I figured black would probably go bx c6, and then queen c5 or king c5, and then king c8, and then king c6, and then king b8, and then b7, yeah, and then king a7, and then king c7, and then resulting in like king a6, and then b8.
We don't need to calculate after that. That's a win, yeah?
Yeah.
And you think that's good, or do you think there's any change?
I think it's good.
I think it's good. C6 wins. I think majority of the players said C6 wins here. Is anyone here debating that? Okay, Eric says he wants to debate that. Adi, let's go to Adi.
Okay, so I think we can play after c6. I thought king c8 would draw because c7, then king d7, and that's forced draw. And if c take b7, king take b7, king c5, king b8, that also draws. And
So, Wesley says he wants to challenge you. Okay.
After king c8, what about king d6?
What? Wait, can I go king b8?
Then king d7.
Then
Wait.
So challenge accepted, but unfortunately, Wesley, I don't.
Oh yeah, my bad.
That's okay. I like it. We have to ask these questions again. So c6, king c8 is the move. Looks like most of you missed. And the problem after king c8, of course, is that I will not have to take this. And you don't have c7. The biggest problem is you don't have c7. This would be a really nice move to play usually to win the game. But you don't have this because I will simply have this fortress where you can never approach the pawn, right? You mean you cannot approach the pawn or you cannot approach the queening square. So this would be an immediate draw. So the only thing you could do is try to play king d6. But now I have this important move, king b8. And now I'm threatening to take the pawn no matter what you do. Or you take cb7, I'll take with the king. It's just a draw. Right? There's no way you're going to win this one because once the king is behind the pawn, you have no chance to win the game in a single pawn, king and pawn game, right? Your king has to be in front of your pawn and you have to have the opposition, yeah? So here's the irony of this. c6 is the only move that makes a draw. Any other move wins here. I think Eric got it right. Alan got it right. I don't know if anyone else got it right. Did anyone else get this right? In the chat, I only saw Eric and Alan. Let's see. Wait, who is me? I'm not seeing your name. It's showing some orange color. King d4 is right. Yes, Megan. So king d4 is right. King e5 is right. King c4, king e4. You can literally play any move that's not c6 and you will still win the game. But of course, you should also know how to do that. And if you played king d4, yes, technically you got it right. But the idea is very simple. You just take opposition, triangulate here, right? If you go king e5, I would say the most direct answer would be king e5 because the king is pretty much forced to come here. So Alan, yes, king c4 or king d4 are possible too. But then if I go back, you're going to have to go forward or something again, right? So that's why it's better to triangulate like this instead of triangulating like this. Because from e5, you have more access. You cannot go back. So king e5, king c6, you go king d4. I have to go back and I go here and we kind of got the same thing. And then whichever way the king goes, you just get in. And then eventually you will move in, yeah? So the point is you don't commit c6 until you get the king all the way here and the king is 8 and now c6. Because now c7 is an actual threat. There is no fortress. If pawn takes king c7, easily wins and white's winning the game, yeah? So looks like I got most of you in this one. Unfortunately, the all perfect score has to be very, very few now. Who has all of them right? Raise your hand. Who are the ones? I think Eric still has, Ari says he has 3 out of 4. Eric, do you have all of it right or do you miss one? I know you got this one right and you got the first one right. I don't know if you got the second one. Oh, no, you got, oh my God, guys, we have only into 3 positions and I have 0 people with perfect score. You see, even the things that you really, really know are wrong. Megan, don't worry about it. If you don't know some of these endgames, all I would suggest is go back and study them, right? Because what will happen is your tactics level will be at 2200. So this is what happens with a lot of players because you look at what is very relevant for results, which is understandable. You're very practical. You're studying what is more important. And then you do your tactics. That's happening a lot in your games. You do your calculation. That happens a lot in your games. You do your openings. That's very relevant in practical games. But what happens is you become so strong in one area of the game and you leave something behind, way, way behind, right? At some point, if you want to bridge the gap, you're going to lose time. If you notice players kind of stuck in a rating and plateau in a rating, like, oh, I reached 2000 quickly, but I couldn't progress after that. Some of the reasons are this. You've not probably studied your end game. You've not probably studied your middle game planning or anything. And then you just kind of focus on one thing. So one thing I would recommend, of course, is study everything together. Do not ignore end games, right? You might never get this in a game, right? But you are actually using that, one, of course, to build your calculation. 2 is to build your knowledge base. This makes you a better player in other places, right? All right. Ari, this is not considered correct. If you said c6 draw, that's wrong because c6 is a bad move. You're right in saying c6 is a draw, but that is, I would not consider that as a correct move, unfortunately. Sorry. Okay, what about this one? Let me go back to see how many of you got this one right. Okay, so this was all after the c6 moves. Eric and Aryan got it right. Ryan got it right. Charles got it right. Alan and Adi, good. Okay. I think a lot of you do have this. Can I get redemption? Okay, Adi, you can get redemption. Go. Wait, Aryan wanted redemption. I'm calling Ari. Why am I doing that? Where are you, Aryan? I don't see you in the... Where are you? The kebab one. If I eventually manage to find you, I can unmute you. Oh, yeah, there you are. The kebab one.
So white is winning after king f5.
Why not king e5?
King e5, then they can play c4 and then king e7. They have the opposition.
Absolutely, yeah. c4, pawn takes c4 and king e7, and we have an immediate draw. So
We
those
seem
are-
to have tried our hardest to get a draw.
Yes, thank you. So king f5, of course, is very logical, and that's how you win the game, not king e5, yeah? So now, actually, I will give you the link to the board. I am going to ask a question very quickly. It should be the easiest question. All of you should be able to get it right, but I will show you why I'm asking that question after you join the board. The password is 123456, as always. The super, super tough password. Okay, so nobody can hack into it. Absolutely impossible, right? All right, and of course, if you're not joining the room for whatever reason, you can always still chat. You don't need to join that board. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask a question on a position. And like I said, it's pretty easy. I don't think anyone would make a mistake in this one, but there's always a possible chance. But let me go ahead and start the question. I will resume share. There you go. White to play, and I will ask the question. Well, I could not make the password as just one, Wesley, because I think the system makes me do a six-digit password. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is the password. You might be wondering why am I even asking this question, yeah? Ooh, I got 2 people to actually make different moves. Interesting. Aha. I got 1 person to actually fall for a trick. I didn't think that would happen, but it looks like it happened. It did happen. And some of you ran out of time. That's okay. So Megan is like, I think it's obvious we're talking about king and pawn in games. You're right, Megan, but there are 2 moves though. Don't you think? There are 2 moves for the king and pawn in game. Aryan, good for you. So guess what? Queen g6 and queen g5 both works. I mean, some of you played queen f7 check. I mean, you can play that. That's okay, right? That's not a problem. But you should definitely play something like, you know, this, because it's a more forcing king and pawn game situation, right? So obviously queen g6 and queen g5 are both possible. Now, of course, I need to show you why I even picked this game to show you, right? And you could probably expect what's coming, can't you? You know what I'm about to show you, right? So white again is completely demolishing black, who is like what, 150 points rated above him, and played queen to g5 check. Blunder, walking into a king and pawn game. Queen g6, of course, instantly wins, right? Queen takes g5, king takes g5, and just like what we learned, king g7, not king f7, but we already saw that, king g7. Aryan, I wouldn't call white as low in rating. I mean, white's at like almost at 2300 in a basic king and pawn game position. So I would say this is unfortunate blunder from white. I wouldn't really worry about the rating at all. I mean, just to say that they're very reasonably high rated players, that's all, yeah? Relatively, of course, yes. But I expected 2,300 to easily know this, right? So, and then, of course, the exact situation happened before. And then we got ourselves a draw, right? Now, I just realized I wanted to ask something else before we go further, which is in the previous position. I'm going to go back here. This is the previous position we saw. And I'm going to ask this question. So this is a draw, yeah? And we know that this endgame is like a fortress and it's a draw. Does anyone know any other famous game that you can think of that has a story around this? Ari and Aryan instantly know this. I like it. I'm going to give a few more seconds for others. Mordan's like, not me. Eric, you're right. Samuel, you're right. Let's see if Samuel can tell us. Yes, Sam.
It was that Sam Shankland game where he thought that his king had to get to like the corner or something, and then he resigned in a drawn endgame.
Exactly. He resigned in a drawn endgame. By the way, I'm not going to pull it up here. You guys can actually look it up on your own. Just search Sam Shankland against Anish Giri. And like, I know a lot of you are typing it in chat. This is a very interesting game because Sam actually resigned in a drawn endgame position. And it was so funny that Giri had to ask, right? Ask, are you resigning? Because he was not sure if his opponent is offering a draw or if he was resigning. But Nish already said that he knew something was wrong because Sam was like disappointed. He was shaking his head and he was like not happy. And but unfortunately, you know, Sam, of course, is a great player. You have seen him here several times. He has some fantastic endgames himself, but also all good players have their bad day too, right? Alan, you don't need to just Google it. If you just type in Sam Shankland and Anish Giri, probably the first link you're going to get is this. You'll get like some chess.com or chess24 article. Yes, Aryan, you're right. Sam is a great player, obviously, but everyone has these kind of moments. I can probably pull up a lot of moments like that. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. The last one, of course. Hopefully the last one is easy. Because the last one also is probably well studied, well known. So who knows this and who can explain this 100%? Someone who's not already spoken. I know Sam, Madison, you have already given me. Someone was not. Or Madison, I will let you redeem yourself.
So I thought in this position of King D5, and I thought it ended up in a draw.
Oh, we thought it's a draw. Oh no!
I know it's a draw. So
how do you know it's a draw? How are you so sure it's a draw?
well, I just thought about it. I calculated, I guess.
Hold on. To calculate this to be a draw, the only way you can do that is you tried every possible way for white to win and you could not break through, and only then you can calculate this to a draw. If you calculate the win, you can just tell me with one variation. But if you calculated this to a draw, you should have calculated like so many variations for white, which is probably not possible, right? And unfortunately, this is the win. Sorry. Uh-oh. That's okay. That's okay. White is winning this one. And I will let... Okay, Aryan wants to explain this badly, I guess. Kebab. There you go. Oh, actually, hold on one second, Aryan. I think Alan has not explained. Go on, Alan.
So I think this is a win because after King D4, right? King C8, or King D8 or whatever, you can go King D4 and then King C5 and you triangulate and then you're winning.
Yeah, very nice. Basic corresponding squares. By the way, this is easy when you just kind of talk about triangulation, but it's also very important that all of you here know the idea of corresponding squares, right? Triangulation is usually from corresponding squares. What does that mean? That means anytime I go to a position and I'm not able to break through because my opponent's king is in the perfect square. It doesn't have to be king, it could be any piece. But the idea is that I cannot break through here. No, no, and no, because the black king is in the perfect square. So if it's black's turn to play and he ends up somewhere else, white just easily wins. So that's what we basically call corresponding squares. And by the same token, we will also say that when the king goes to d6, black's only square, right? The corresponding square is the only square your opponent piece can be to make it work. Anywhere else, it will not work. So d6 and d8 is also the same, because if I don't take opposition, c7 will win the game, right? So by that token, you can say this one is corresponding to this one. So c5 and c7, d6 and d8. From that, we can also kind of get more corresponding squares, which would be d5 in this case, right? And let's try to see if we can give a different color. Yep. So that is your 3 set of corresponding squares. And to work out a win for a corresponding square, all you have to do is work from around it. You can look at the squares around it and say, okay, find a square for which your opponent does not have a match. As simple as that, right? If I go to e5, e6, d4, c4, all of these squares allow me to go to 2 different corresponding squares that I already know. You see which one does not have a match and you will win the game. For example, if I go to c4, from c4, I'm ready to go to c5 and d5. So black should be ready to go to c5 and c8, sorry, c7 and c8, which gives him b8 or d8. Those are the 2 possibilities. And obviously, I can be in either one of those squares. And if I end up on d4, it's the same thing, b8 and d8. So the real problem for black is the 2 corresponding squares for this. Black's corresponding squares are b8 and d8. White can switch from c4 to d4 and d4 to c4, and black cannot do that. That's why black loses the game. So king c8, and I'll simply go either one of these squares, doesn't really matter. And now black has to pick one of them to stay alive. And when I go to c4, that's the problem. I will end up going to c8, then you go to d5. Now, remember this, black king was supposed to go to c8 when I went to d5. But black king is already in c8, so he has to get out of there. The same thing happens here. I was supposed to go to c7 when white king came to c5. Black king is already there, yeah? Okay, so no perfect scores, but that's okay. Who got maybe, I think we had 6 positions, yeah? 5, but one of them had 2. Who got 5 out of 6? Okay, Eric has 5 out of 6. Ari. Wait, Aryan, what else did you miss? I thought you missed only 1. And Sam, we got 4 out of 6. That's okay. I see some of you with 4 out of 6. That's okay. Ah, you got 5. Fair enough, yeah. So Alan, you remember? Alan, how could you have missed 1? What did you miss? Megan, that's fine. That's fine. The first one, oh my God. You could not have done that. All right, now, how about we do some practical king and pawn games? So I'm actually going to do king and pawn positions now, which is a little bit more, of course, from practical positions. This thing that I did is just to make you remember that it's very important that you know your basics inside out, something that you're not going to be calculating or studying, right? Not something that I want you to think about, something that you should just know. Okay, with that said and done, let's go to maybe a position. All right, practical endgames, more fun, actually. I want to make sure I give a position that does not have too many answers, or you're all going to be unhappy with me. Okay, let's start with, again, something simple. Not too challenging. All right, again, I'm going to ask a question. You just have 60 seconds. I'm just still asking some questions there, so. You can go back to the square. No, the question is, what do you play? You can pick any move that you want. Make the move on the board. I've asked the question on the website. Okay, I think the password is 123456, Madison. Well, yeah, Vihan, you can play that other move, but doesn't make so much straight. With both your accounts, you cannot have two accounts. You're going to get the answer from one of them. Well, if you ever get it wrong. Okay, so obviously, again, very basic king and pawn game idea in transition is that if you get an outside pass pawn, you basically win the game, and that's it, right? Now, I cannot play g4 because I end up losing the pawn, but maybe you do need to calculate this very quickly to make sure you're queening kind of faster. So, like, for example, what will you do after g4? This, just type it in chat, type a variation in chat. Because I'm going to play g4 and I'm going to try to go take that pawn and then try to come back after. Maradan and Vihan, I want a few more moves. Eric, that's good enough. Thank you. Aryan, I'm just seeing your variation. Yep, fair enough. That's good enough. Alan, I don't think you played the best option. Not so sure about it. I think you probably missed what black would do. Sam, I think that's not so clear. Black has his own pawn too. Same thing for you, Bihan. I'm not so sure. Wesley, that's good. Eric Feng, I'm not so sure. If your variation, there's something that's missing there. You'll have to check it. Okay, Maradan, I don't think your variation is clear either. All right, I'm just going to quickly point out the problem is that g4 takes is very necessary, of course. h4 is something you can immediately forget. Protect the pass pawn. There's no way you're going to win the game. Black king will just come back. Obviously, I'm not going to go take the pawn, but in fact, white has to be careful to make a draw. You like kind of wait here when black goes to h5, you go to g3. You probably will make a draw, but it's not a move you should ever consider. Take, king g3 makes a lot more sense. King c6, and this is the point most of you made the mistake. Well, I'm not so sure how it's losing. Is it losing? How? But king comes to h5, I'll play king g3. What triangulation? Calculate and tell me the variation. I don't see a triangulation because I'll simply play h2 and g2 Aryan. Yeah, by the way, for the rest of you, if you play king g4 right now, the problem is I play king b6, and this is not so clear. I'm within your square. Pawn is queening here, and this is the square for the pawn. I'm within the square, and don't forget that I have my own pawn to queen, yeah? So it's simply not so clear. If you play king g5, I go... I mean, you still probably win here, but totally unnecessary, right? You have to calculate more. Simply play f5. Don't let me take the pawn. If I take the pawn, you just queen, right? Much easier. I'm not asking any questions here, Samuel. This is too easy. All right, going back. All right, let's go back. This is again a transformation to the king and pawn game that simply wins. Yeah. Now let's go to another one. Another one of those simple transformation, and I'll do one. And the last one will make it a little bit more fun. The next one is also hopefully straightforward, but something very important theoretical that you should all know. So I shall ask you that. Well-known theoretical endgame. I did get your solution, Sam. So when I've studied some queen versus rook endgames, these ideas pop up a lot of times. So it's very, very, very important that we know this. Oh, Evan, that's okay. I did not give too much time, but I think enough time to realize what we're doing in this particular class, right? Okay, so what do we have here? Wait, Madison, do you have a question? I see your hand up. No, okay. No, why? What happened, Murna? Did you mess it up? Uh-oh. Well, that's okay, Madison. No problem. Well, we are learning king and pawn in games. Oh, you mouse slipped, unfortunate. Queen b8 and queen takes d6 easily wins. Again, it's all about recognizing the pawn structure. Yeah, straightforward. Game over. And because now you will simply collect the pawn. Remember, once your king goes up, you just win the pawn and you have the pawn in the 5th rank and it's an easy win. All right, that brings us to one more here. And then after, depending on how quickly you guys do this, you can probably do one more after that. All right, I'm not going to ask this question on the board. This is simply chat. So, or maybe towards the end, I might ask this on the board. But for now, we are going to simply see the position and talk about what it's White's turn to play. But Alan, wait, did you see this position too, Alan? I don't remember. Give me a variation, Alan, not one move. You didn't, okay. But you have to give me a variation, yeah? Ah, none of the positions here I showed you. Okay, good, good, good. I think I was doing an evaluation test for a different rook class. Maybe you were not there in that one. So Samuel, this is not a position you want to guess or play intuitively. This is a position you have to calculate. Give a precise sequence and a move. King and pawn in games are like tactics. Madison, are you sure you will win that? And if you are, can you check to see if black could have done something else? Okay, I got something from Eric. Alan, okay, that variation does work for white. Can black do something else? Vihan, okay. Any other possibilities for black? Madison, that's fair enough. Give me a variation. All right, Aryan, what's the verdict? What's the conclusion? Okay. Madison, I need a few more moves. Sorry. Okay, Vihan has given me an alternative. All right, so let's move on. I think pretty much most of you have given me the move a5, which makes sense. It's the most forcing move, so you want to look at it, right? And some of you also try to play king to b4. Looks like both moves are played. So I'm also going to come back to this king to b4 after, but I'm going to see a5 first to see what's going on with a5. Adi, what is obvious? Did you miss anything in your variation? Never mind. Okay. So a5, pawn takes a5, and now, can you really make something work? You just take after a4. You mean to say a5, right? Huh? Oh, nothing. So you're giving me variations. Okay, the problem with king c5, of course, is king d7. Don't forget that. If you play king c5 here, I'm going to play king d7, and already your pawn is not queening. If you play b6, when you play b7, I can stop you. And if you play king b6, this is already a big, big problem. So Alan, I want you to think about what will black play here. Of course, I will play a4. And black will end up winning the game because, when we queen, I'll queen with a check. You have to move this way because otherwise you don't help the pawn queen. If you go king c5, for example, I'll play a3, a2, and then when you go to b7, I'll play king c7. So that's just losing. And when you go to a7, the problem is I queen with a check. Very long variation. I queen with a check and it's game over, yeah? No, I actually thought that I'm trading queens, but it looks like you're not even queening the pawn. G3, G6, oh, that's irrelevant. So both sides are left with no pawn moves eventually. Whoever starts the thing will end up with their turn again. That's kind of obvious. So the only real option you have is after a5, pawn takes a5, b6, you have king b5, king a6 idea. So that's your only shot. Now, if black doesn't stop the pawn becomes a queen. So black has either king d6 or king d7. And now king b5, the critical move. In fact, it's really nice because white has two threats. One is to go to a6 and queen his own pawn. The second thing is to take on a5 and come back and catch the e pawn. This is one of those famous Reti studies, right? This is when you do one thing, you don't win, and you do two things. I mean, whether it's a win or a draw, you get what you want when you're doing multiple things together. Since white is threatening both, black cannot cope up with both. If I simply push my pawn, you will play king a6, and now I cannot stop the pawn from queening because king c8 runs into king a7. And white will end up queening with check. So black's best option would be to simply go up and queen the pawn, right? So we'll move this. But the problem is white, of course, has some checks. I can pick up some pawns, most likely a draw. So the real problem is if I don't play e4 and I play king c8, I do stop the pawn because if you play king a6 now, I can go king b8. But the only problem is now when the king takes pawn, I am certainly within the pawn square. And now probably black is playing for a draw. What about a4 when? After king b5, okay? So I play here, you play a4, I take. What difference does it make? Because when you play king here, I would still do the same. If you play e4, I can come back. Right? So I'm threatening king a6 right now. And if you play e4, I go king a6, you can probably fancy... No, even that's possible, right? I was thinking that if you can fancy any queening with queen a1 check, but that also doesn't make it, right? Because of the pawn structure. True, that's right. The pawns being like this does help, Alan, you're right. So a4 kind of, I see what you're trying to do within, but the whole point is the minute I am within this square, right? It's much easier for me to make that draw, walk in, yeah? Easily. I had one more position in mind. Do you guys want me to ask that? We reached 9. Do we close shop now, or do you have one more position that you guys can do? More. Okay. So those who are chatting obviously want more. I like that. So I am going to give that last position that I had planned. Ooh. My chess base says I'm running low on system resources. That's not good. Let me close some positions. All right, last position for the day coming up. It is a little bit challenging. Not too much. All right, white to play. This one you saw. I did eventually find a position that you saw. Just do it in chat. Maybe I will ask a question maybe in a minute or two. For now, just actually a couple of minutes, you can just think about it. You don't need to write anything in chat. And then I'll ask a question there. Think about it. There's no rush. Do your candidate moves, look at different options. It's all about pattern recognition to see which pawn structure or which position you really, really like. Yep, Alan, good job. Okay. I shall ask this last question on the board. And I should give 50 points. So you can get this right and redeem yourself if you didn't get anything right before. And I'll give you 3 minutes. The last position of the day. Let's go, guys. Ouch. Ouch. This is not how you're supposed to end the day. Eric, you'll have to calculate that and tell me. What's wrong with that move? You will have to calculate that. Vihan, good job. Rochelle, Angela, nice. Eric, Leo, did you find find what's wrong with your move? By any chance? Make it. That's not winning though. That's a problem. Not a winning idea. Ari, I don't even think I need to do that. Let me check your variation. I don't think I need to do that. If you think about it, even the direct calculation will tell you that it's not working. Unfortunately. Okay, last minute. See, just see. This is one place, Mr. Aryan, you might, if you sign in with 2 accounts, you know the answer after you get the first one wrong. Angela, nice. Nice way to finish. Good job. And Time is pretty much up. Okay, I'm just going to explain this position and then we're done. So okay, so the problem is that basically after pawn takes pawn and pawn takes pawn, and a lot of you played f4. By the way, you should not be playing g5. Come on, g5 should be a move you should have eliminated much quickly, because takes h4, king e4, king e6. This is all you need to see. You can stop your calculation right here and say this is not worth it. I have this pawn running down and this king has to go for it. This king is coming in and taking this pawn. How are you going to survive this, right? There's no way this is going to be a win. At best case scenario, you're just getting a draw. So g5 doesn't make sense. f3 does not help you progress. It would be a nice waiting move. You can make some progress, but black has king e7, king d7, and if white plays king c6, black has king e6. So the only realistic move is this, but I think most of you fell for this. You played f4 thinking that you would take and then go here. But the count is not there. If I go here, you take, here, take, and I am on time back to f5. So I just got back for a draw. As simple as that. The direct number of the move count, right? So f4 is a great idea, it just doesn't work. So the only realistic move is d4, of course. Takes. And now the difference is again a pattern recognition. You have an extra move to play that your opponent doesn't. Here, king f6 and f3. How many people got to 80 points? I have no idea, sorry. Oh, so you mean here, 5 people. It's a 5-way tie for first place, Vihan, with 80 points. All right, everyone. So go study some king and pawn in games. With that, we'll wrap it up today. I will see you all in a future class in US Chess School. Good night. Bye.